When's he supposed to put it up, in June?
It did snow on the ground, I guess.
Yeah, she had it.
I'll call the Lakeland Shore City Council meeting December 5th, 2019, 6:30, being held here at the Lake St. Croix Beach City Hall to order. Would you mind taking roll call, Kim?
Councilmember Schroeder.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Bischoff.
Here.
Mayor Zeller.
Here. Would you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item of business is to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion, we adopt the agenda for December 5th, 2019.
And there's a second. Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is the consent agenda, but we do have law enforcement. Gentlemen, welcome. Is there anything you wanted to report this evening?
Are you guys doing any concerns, issues?
I will say on Lakeland Shores Road recently, somebody's been throwing some beer bottles outside of their car. I think we pulled a couple six-packs out of the bushes. I don't know if that was all in one evening or if that was... It seemed like kind of an unusual place for them to turn down a dead-end road and discard empty bottles. I haven't seen any vehicle...
It's a one-time event.
I think it more than likely was. I'll keep my eyes open,
Yeah,
but...
well, it gives us access to cars for suspicious cars rather than,
Sure.
violating their constitutional rights. We can at least stop them and get an independent third-party call.
Yeah. Outside of that, I think it's, knock on wood, it's been pretty
Yeah.
quiet in our area.
Holiday season's coming. So.
That's right, yeah. Thank you. We appreciate everything you're doing.
Yes, sir.
I do have one thing. I noticed we've had some new neighbors move to the north of us on Quinlan Avenue, so it'd be Quinlan and Division. And they live on I think it's a rental house on the north end, and a white SUV, like around 7 o'clock in the morning. He just comes barreling through there like 40 miles an hour, and I don't know.
Is he a resident?
Yeah, he's a resident, and I don't want. I'm
It's
sure it's a
at
young
Dakota,
kid.
right?
Yeah,
Not Dakota, the Durango.
yeah.
It's an older white Durango.
And it's a covered intersection. We have two new families that have kids that hit the bus stop around there, and they get off and on. And
Sure.
I'm just waiting.
Is he a middle-aged male or?
It's probably a teenager, maybe
Teenager.
17 to 19, 20 years old, something like that.
Okay.
And I don't want to.
An older Dodge Durango. It's
Yeah.
too late. You've already let that cat out of the bag.
Well, no, I don't want to go and talk to him. I'd
We have
rather
a board at the office for concerns, speeding issues. I
Yeah.
can put that on the board.
So I would say maybe time frame from 6:50 to 7:10 in the morning.
After school too, or like 3 to 5?
I just see that in the morning.
He sees them in the morning. I generally see him in the afternoon, but he's coming up. He's
Same.
not going the same direction.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
he's just got a heavy foot.
We can always have an educational
Yeah.
discussion with them.
That's good.
Well,
No,
especially this time of year.
How
with the,
politically
the
correct
ice and
that
the-
was worded.
some of them.
We don't always have to hang a
They
citation.
used to work in your
By the
day.
time
They don't work
the
there.
conversation.
especially since we got, one across the street and two houses down, 7 new kids.
As long as it's a
absolutely.
positive
Yeah.
response, we won't
Yeah.
need to get parents involved. Otherwise, that's another option. So.
Okay.
Great. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
gentlemen.
So, and just for the citizens, make sure if you're going to have deliveries to your house this time of year, we got people following UPS, FedEx trucks around in the mail. So just be aware that that's an issue.
Okay.
I just put all my junk in Amazon
Yep.
boxes and put it on the front porch.
I know you can arrange to have your Amazon packages delivered, to other locations, Amazon, like Depot type businesses. So,
Okay. Great.
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy holidays.
Good evening.
Same for you. Our next item of business is the consent agenda. There are 3 items on there. Item A is approve monthly claims. Item B is the October 3rd, 2019 City Council meeting minutes. And item C is resolution number 2019-12, designation of the polling location. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda?
I will second that consent agenda.
I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item of business is public comments. Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment or share a thought or concern with us?
I'm Steve Zick, and I have a house in Lakeland, not Lakeland Shores, but
Okay.
the commercial building there, is that in Lakeland Shores?
It is. The new one under construction?
Yes.
Yes.
And is there some type of covenants for their CUP of hours of business? And
There is, yes.
okay,
And if you'd like, we can probably get you a copy of the conditions of approval.
okay.
If you could just write down your name and address there under public comment and put an email, I can certainly send that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have any particular concerns?
No, I was just so that they're not open for business, at 1 a.m, bringing home limos or whatever they're doing, and diesel trucks running at
Right.
5 a.m, and
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that we did have considerable discussion when we went through the application with the applicant, and there were a couple of concessions that we asked for, but that building does meet all the requirements. It didn't require any variances, and I believe one of the conditions is that everything's held contained within the building, so there won't be any outside storage from my recollection.
okay.
And then I think there was some hours of operation, but we had to understand that,
It's a limousine service.
so there's going to be some late hours. when the
Limousine
car
and
being dropped
landscaping.
off. That's-
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
concern, a limousine service, but after they close up the bars at 2 o'clock, and then are they coming home? And
Well, they won't be dropping them off, the people off there. It's just the guy bringing the car.
The car
back.
return.
right, but
Yeah.
there's homes real close to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll get you a copy of that, but I to manage expectations, I think that, well, I recall it was part of our discussion. I don't remember the outcome or the condition of approval. So maybe when you see that, it'll help. We can even, do you recall what month that was? It's probably worth watching our meeting on the website.
Oh, okay.
I believe it was July of last year.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
Not this past,
Yeah.
the one before, 2018.
Yeah, I think it's been quite a long time.
Mhm.
Okay.
So maybe we can share that date with you too, and you can go back and watch it.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yep.
I know there's gonna be some other feedback.
Do you live close by there, or?
Well, I'm right back of it, 301 Clinton,
Okay.
so just the next block over.
Our hope is that he's going to be a good neighbor. There were some neighbors that showed up and expressed some concerns, and I think by the end of the meeting, we had been able to work through those, and everybody got to meet each other, and, I think he's going to be a good neighbor.
Okay.
That's our hope, obviously.
It's going to be a nice building, too.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I hope they do something nicer.
yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Item 4, unfinished and new business. I don't know that there's a good time to talk about it, but obviously we lost one of our council members in a tragic accident, and I don't want the meeting to go without acknowledging that and addressing it. And I know a couple people were able to attend either the wake or the funeral, and the number of people there was, really spoke volumes of the number of people that Randy Kopesky had touched through his years of service to our community. And I think the comment that I provided was he always had a smile on his face. I don't think anything's truer than that. So obviously we're going to miss him, and sorry for their family's loss. So just wanted to mention that. So item A is consideration of resolution number 2019-10, 2020 final budget. Neil, would you like to speak to that?
Sure.
I mean, if you had anything in particular, otherwise, obviously, we've gone through this exercise of creating the budget, and I just didn't know if there was anything you wanted to point out to us. And everybody had a chance to meet Neil?
Yes. Yeah. There really isn't, a big change from year to year. Looking at the expenditures this year, one of the things that I've always focused on is what's our carryover and how we did versus the previous budget. I mean, at times, if if your revenues are exceeding your budget and your carryover is greater, we've had discussions in the past in other communities is, do we really need to levy that full amount?
Right.
I think this year, what you're going to see is that we're going to come in a little better than budget. Under budget expenditures, a little bit revenue, a little bit over budget, but it's not any kind of surplus where I would sit there and say it'd be worthwhile to consider reducing your levy accordingly.
Do you have, and you probably maybe even get a little kick out of our budget given its size compared to your experience,
right.
and but do you have a feel for what that dollar amount is for 2019?
The excess?
Yes.
I think the way the budget was laid out was a zero, and I'm thinking you're 8 to 10 grand maybe.
Okay. And we know there's a couple of items in particular that help with that, but
Right.
Our primary concern is roads.
Right.
And we feel like we're funding them maybe a little. We're trying to increase our funding for roads. So those overages in the past we put straight into our roads budget, or reserve, if you will. And then the increase that we're seeing this year is really in an effort to make sure that we're staying on top of roads.
And I think that's something that I would look at, once we know how 2019 ended up,
Yep.
if there is an excess,
Yep.
I think you could, the appropriate thing would be to amend the budget, throw that money into the road fund
Yep.
for a transfer, just to build that up.
Yep. So, with that said, the resolution in front of us, are there any highlights in that in particular that?
No particular highlights.
Okay. So I think in all my years of being on councils and mayors, I think this may be the second time I'm voting for an increase, which tells you that I'm not very excited about it. But I think it's fully necessary, and I'm absolutely convinced it's the right decision. And maybe some would argue that we need to do more. But with that said, I would make a motion that we adopt the resolution as presented.
I'll second.
Any comments?
No, I think we're basically doing what we have to do at a very minimalistic basis, and I think that eventually we'll probably pay the price for it because of the road situation, but we may or may not. That's in the future. And as it is now, I think it's a good budget, and I think it is one that will provide what we need in the town of Lakeland Shores. So.
I agree, and I think we'll play that out in the next 2 years with projects that we're probably going to put on the board, and then we'll see how aggressive we need to be.
Right.
So, yeah, it's good to me.
I'll call for a vote. Kim, would you mind taking roll call?
I do not mind. Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bischoff,
Yes.
Mayor Zeller.
Aye. Passes. Item B is consideration of resolution number 2019-11, establishing the 2020 final levy. I don't see that in my packet, to be honest with you. Thank you. I have 10 and I have 11. I just needed to dig deeper. I guess similar comments. And with that, I would make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2019-11 as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? We'll call for a vote. All those in favor by roll call?
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Bischoff,
Yes.
Mayor Zeller.
Aye. Resolution passes. Thank you, Neil. Welcome aboard. Appreciate your helping us. Item C, consideration of council appointment to vacant council seat. This is the rather unpleasant task that we'll need to deal with, not this evening, but I do want to put it on the table that that's something we'll need to do in the near future, and I think I'd like it to be as transparent as possible. So I think if anyone is aware of anyone that may be willing to serve, that maybe we ask them to submit a letter of interest and maybe some of their experience. And if we have multiple people, maybe we'll just hold an informal question and answer session with them. And then at some point, we're going to need to make a recommendation and fill the vacancy until it would be a part of a special election then in November. So, I don't know if anybody wants to discuss that or if they're comfortable with that process.
No, the only thing I'm curious about is how we might make it, the people in Lakeland Shores aware of the fact that we're needing somebody. And, I mean, it seems to be obvious if you lose a council member that, in fact, you might need somebody, but I don't know whether there's a better way, because nobody ever watches the video.
Right.
I'm not sure how we're going to make them aware that we're looking for talent, if anybody's got any ideas.
You know, I certainly wouldn't be, I'd be willing to do some door knocking if we wanted to put together an information pamphlet. I would be willing to door knock, or we can split that up and distribute it manually if we wanted to. And I know we don't have maybe at the same time we want to make that effort of, maybe in that same handout we could say, if you want to be part of our electronic distribution list, and provide them a link to, because we want to build that database. That's something that we've been concerned about.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
Should I work
Absolutely.
with Kim to see if we can come up with some type of a pamphlet, and then I'll reach out to one or two of you and see if we want to divide the city? In the
Sure.
summer, I can cover the whole city in about 45 minutes on my scooter, but it's going to take a little longer in the winter. Does that sound
No,
reasonable?
I think that sounds good. We also might contact the St. Paul Pioneer Press, and you know, conceivably they could give us a little box in the corner that people read on occasion.
won't.
They won't do it?
You don't think so?
I mean,
Okay.
Well, they'll charge you a lot.
oh, they will.
You don't think they'd do a little
You
article?
don't think
No.
Mary Devine would do anything?
Maybe if you know her. St.
Okay.
Paul Pioneer Press is
Okay.
I don't
difficult.
mind. I've communicated with her over the years. I can try. I haven't talked to her in quite a while, but I can try. Okay.
The other option would be the website, to post it on the website. And kind of the theory behind that, the strategy is you would like for people who are looking at your website because they have the interest.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't done a newsletter, and that falls squarely on my shoulders. Do you think there's any way that you could duct tape me to a chair and force me to do an abbreviated newsletter with you?
I think
Because
so.
I know that you'd done some work previously.
Yeah.
John could do a quick
I've
blurb.
done one.
I think, frankly, that falls on my shoulders for not finishing it. So
I got some strapping tape, Kim. We can get him in a chair.
it's just not a fun thing for me to do. I'm not good at it, but I realize it needs
If
to
you
be
want to
done.
do something like that, we could easily do that.
Okay. Well, let's, John, I know it's a concern of yours, so you and I work with Kim, if that's okay with the two of you, and
Yeah.
we'll come up with something.
Mayor and council members, it's also my understanding you do not have to appoint someone.
Oh,
It's to the special election, there's less than 2 years for the special election, so you are not required to appoint someone.
because he was just
You should do-
reelected,
Just
so,
elected, actually.
right.
He-
He had a 4-year.
Yeah, he served a
had a
2-year,
two-year.
and then he
That's
just
right,
got
finished
reelected for, so it would be a special election in November?
Absolutely, for
So we
his
have-
2-year term,
Oh, that's right.
the rest of
yeah.
his 2-year term.
So we don't have to rush through it.
No.
Okay. Well,
Cancel all that other stuff we just talked about.
no, I mean, I think we still need to do a newsletter, and I think, you know, if a quality candidate came forward, it's an opportunity because frankly, we're going to have probably, I've heard rumor that one person may not run again, so if we're not able to convince them to run again, we're gonna need some candidates. We're going to need some fresh blood. We're not all going to be here forever, right?
That's true.
Would you like to start with me at least posting it on the website,
would
asking for
be
letters
wonderful.
of interest?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Or even a phone call would do, you know, some people don't even want, I mean, a letter is not. you
An
know,
email of interest.
Email of interest or something, you know,
Yeah.
something that they can.
But then let's see if we can't do an abbreviated newsletter. It's past time for that.
Okay.
Okay. Council and staff reports. Kim?
Mayor and council members, I included my updates in your packet. The update on the Valley Library reopening and the timeline of events. They're having a grand reopening celebration on Saturday, January 11th, as well as the Highway 95 road improvement project for spring of 2020. I thought that might have been an interest to you.
You mean they're all done with it? They've actually completed it, it looks like.
The library?
Yeah.
Well, I was just there, and no, but it says it's opening December 18th, so.
So
They've got a couple
my
weeks.
understanding is I attended an event there this afternoon. The commissioner invited some local reps to go, and it's very, very close, and it is wonderful. They have a couple of community rooms that you can access and utilize if you want to. They have a little reading area for kids. It's really wonderful, and they spent over $1 million improving it. So it's just, I don't know that we could have asked for much more. And Commissioner Kriesel was extremely complimentary of Molly O'Rourke with the county, and she was very appreciative and gave kudos to Commissioner Kriesel, because frankly I think in 08, 09 there was a chance that they were going to close that library, and Commissioner Kriesel fought to keep it open. So it's going to be great. So I think that December date is a soft opening, and then they're going to have kind of a formal opening in January.
The grand opening is January 11th.
Yes.
So they're moving into that.
Brand new space next door. So they'll close the one down and open the other.
Oh, because somebody said then they're going to remodel that, and that's
No.
going to be part of it. So that's just the only spot there.
Right.
Okay.
It's 4,200 square feet, so it's more than twice the size.
Oh, it is.
Yep.
Okay.
It's very nice. Anything else, Kim?
No.
Tim?
Just a couple things. One was, the tragic loss of Randy, and I know working with them for probably better part of 15 years, he'll be missed, And so I just want to say that, and our thoughts and prayers are to his family. And I know we kind of joked with him and that, but we'll miss his goofy humor.
He was very dedicated.
Yes.
Yep.
And I know the Yellow Ribbon, they talked about it at the funeral, about doing something, and I know on the end of Division Street where it used to go through, we have a clearing there, and there's we got the round area, where there's trees, and I know John Tesloff talked about a bench or something or whatever, doing something, and I guess maybe that's down the road, we can talk about that and doing something, if we need to ask the family if that was okay, or, something like that.
Yeah, I do know that they're making some efforts at the Yellow Ribbon, so I think there'll be future discussion about that.
Yeah. Other than that, and then the other question, do we know what's going on over by the tennis court? Are they pursuing that? I thought they were gonna have that structure up, that canopy.
I don't know what the delay is, but
Shelter.
yeah, I know that's part of the trail system.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, because they stripped the dirt back and then they never really did anything.
Well, they
after.
poured the footings.
Oh, they did. They poured the footings, that's right.
So I don't know. I know they
But
said
not the
they're gonna-
slab, right?
Yeah, well, they were supposed to have bolts in the footings to bolt it to.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was the hang up but yeah.
Probably spring is my guess.
Okay. Other than that, that's it.
Okay. Tom?
We've had Tim and I have heard this at the fire meeting, that I'm going to say that the contractor is still not being exceptionally cooperative with the fire department on the new commercial building. And as I recall, Tim, Rob said that he needed a 2-inch main, and they put in a 1-inch because it has to be a sprinklered building. And so they're kind of hacking their way through that. But I guess the only reason I'm bringing it up is there's not a lot we can do about it, because the fire department, Dewey, and are kind of dealing with this whole thing. But I guess it just kind of reinforces the fact that we have to get in at the front end. The fire department has to be involved, otherwise, because they went in, they put that water main in before anybody knew anything. And they tore the road up and they put that main in for them. And it's
So
just,
for what it's worth, and I'm not trying to, I'll leave names out of it, but when they contacted the Lakeland Water Department to make
Yeah.
that connection,
yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
they
It's kind of an end run that
they
happened there.
indicated that we would be notified,
Yeah.
and we clearly were not notified, and I don't believe Dewey was notified.
Correct.
And there were a number of incidents that happened during that installation. It drug on for days, and there was damage done to a phone line, and so yeah, it could have been handled better. But frankly, I think
And
I
I'm
think
not,
the water
like I said, it's
department.
not, yeah,
I
it's
think
not
the
a-
water department in Dewey,
Yeah.
had Dewey been aware,
Yeah.
could have spearheaded that.
Yeah. And I'm just bringing it up as the fact that this is what happened now. They're going back and they're going to have to redo the feed line and all this other stuff. And I know a lot of people aren't real happy about it, but it all could have been avoided at the front end.
You know, they're gonna dig up that street again? I mean, the road, I don't care about the street, but I mean,
Well,
talk about
no,
the driveway in, or?
They'll have to shoot, if they do anything, they can dig a hole on each side and shoot it,
Yeah.
like any normal contractor.
Yeah, that was not well executed. I mean, Tim knows that as well as I do. That's not the kind of way that most people would do that. Okay. But anyway,
In all my years of construction, that's always happened at the building inspection level.
Yeah.
That's not a fire department catch, in my opinion.
No.
well,
We're talking about the fire system.
yeah,
Right.
It has to be a 2-inch line.
No, I
because it's a
understand that, but
sprinkler.
that should have been caught at the water department and the building
Yeah,
inspection
okay.
level.
I
my
won't
opinion.
argue that point.
Yeah.
No. But it's just an example of what, like I said, I just brought it up as an example of how things can get screwed up if
So they're
everybody's
gonna have
not
to
rowing the
work
boat
something
together.
out or figure it out and get it taken
Yeah.
care of.
Yep.
where they can-
Yep, and I'm not getting involved in that.
Yeah, and it doesn't really help that, as they say, they came for the permit, or our permission. What are we talking about? 16 months ago?
Yeah.
Or something like that, and it's been a very slow process, and nobody's really had any clue as to what's going on and why it took so long or anything else. Not that it's necessarily the end of our business, but it makes it more difficult to keep track of what is going on.
And I believe at that meeting, we even talked about the
We talked
sprinkler
about the
system.
fire inspection.
The fire inspection and looking at it in the sprinkler system, so.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay, that's it.
anything else? John?
Maybe we can get them to take the dip out of the road there too while they're at it.
Slow
Anyhow, the roads are what they are. It's the time of year where, for whatever reason, in this particular case, it's always a different excuse, but this particular case, it was melting from the bottom up and causing, we actually, as far as the airport got 9 inches of snow, but I don't know what we got, but it couldn't have been more than 4 or 5, I
You're
don't
right,
think. And
yeah.
it came down over the course of a couple of days in which we were getting dribs and drabs. As far as I'm concerned, Tri-County was out there when they were supposed to be out there, and seemed to have done, an okay job. But to me, it was almost a question of whether it needed to be plowed at all. I mean, it was getting to that question, at least to, where we were. And so I think they did a good job. They came out and sanded the intersections, which I think ought to be, when I talk to Ben next, of Tri-County, I think I'll just say, look, you don't have to wait for the complaints, just do it. There's not that many intersections, just do it. And especially the one on 2nd Street North, which has the downhill slope to it. And, but all I ask is, if you've got complaints, make them known. My phone number is available to people. And I'll try to communicate those to Tri-County. If we don't hear from you, then it's hard to know exactly what's going on, what needs to be done beyond what's already been done. I guess the only other thing I wonder about is what's going on with that building that burned. Does anybody have any update on that?
We did talk about that in the fire meeting. And I think the fire department was gonna contact the owner to see if they could be of assistance in getting the process going. with the insurance company, and there was a bit of discussion, and I don't know anything about it, but it was like, it was insured as a residential building, and he was doing commercial work out of it. There was questions about that. I don't know anything
Right.
about that, so I think that was,
So you think that the fire department's communicating with them?
right.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Okay. I already touched on the library. I do want to call to people's attention, and I'm looking for more information, but Lakeland has brought in, they've contracted out now their water service 100% to Peoples Services. I believe they're out of Nebraska, but they have local representatives. I think that that's going to be a good solution for them and hopefully for us. They did have a budget meeting for the water department, which has never happened before, to my knowledge. It never happened when I was there for 8 to 10 years. And one of the things that was called to their attention was there was a reserve fund of approximately $600,000 2 years ago, and that reserve fund is now below $30,000, which is significant. Now, obviously, they've done a lot of work there,
Yeah.
but $30,000 isn't much of a reserve. So I'm hoping that they're going to continue those discussions about budget. I don't know if they're going to be proposing any rate increases, but I may ask them again if they would consider some type of just an advisory board, not anything that takes away any authority. I think Lakeland should maintain the authority, but we are a pretty significant consumer of their water, and I think it'd be good for us to be a little bit more informed. So I'll see if they have an appetite for that. And then I just did want to comment on the snow plowing. One morning they came through at 6:35, and the next morning they were there at 7:45. So we're not a main artery on our road. We're a dead-end street, and I was very impressed with their service on the first two events. So
As to
we-
Peoples, I did run across Simon Worth a month or so ago, and apparently he's been hired full-time by
Mhm.
Peoples to
Yep.
to deal with kind of the local issues. I don't know how Peoples
Yeah.
organizes their business at all. I've known Simon's father for a long time, and I'm sure that Simon will do a good job. I did talk to him about, I asked him, are you going to cut down the boulevard grasses and flowers this fall? And he said, no, we normally do it in the spring. And I said, well, contact me. I'll be glad to help you with it at that time. So we'll see what, I'll try to make sure I'm on it sometime in March or April to make sure I remind him of that.
Yeah.
But beyond that, he's someone that I know I can deal with anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all. If there isn't anything else, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.